Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ariane and I am 40 weeks pregnant tomorrow. So tomorrow, the 10th of October, is my due date. I never thought I would reach it. You will understand why in a bit. But before I get into the third trimester, I just wanted to quickly explain. So I'm from Quebec in Canada, but I've been living in Germany for 6 years with my husband Martin. We live in Berlin. This pregnancy was absolutely unplanned. I'll put a link to my pregnancy playlist in the description below where you can see my unplanned pregnancy announcement and also my recaps of the first and second trimester. I also filmed earlier today a nursery tour, which is actually this corner. We only have one bedroom plus the living room. We don't have a nursery, but we totally made it work and I'm very happy with how it turned out. It's women theme and gender neutral because we don't know what we're having. If you're pregnant, I would love to know how your pregnancy is doing. Is it similar to mine? Can you relate to the symptoms? And if you like this kind of content, I also create vegan recipes. Don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a video. And I suspect that the next video will be with a baby, so let's get into the video. So I've had a very nice pregnancy. My first trimester was hard, of course, but I didn't have any complications. I also never threw up, which was great, even though I felt nauseous all the time and very tired. My second trimester, I had so much energy, it went really well. I did have a lot of round ligament pain in the second half. That complicated things a little bit. And then the third trimester was crazy. A lot happened, kind of nothing at the same time. But I'll explain, you'll see what I mean. As I mentioned in my second trimester recap, I started feeling Braxton Hicks contractions around week 26, which are practice contractions. So they don't hurt. It's good to have them because you want your body to know what to do when the time comes. But what is not so good is when you start having them regularly. You shouldn't really have more than 4 over the course of an hour. Around week 28, I started noticing that I was having quite a few, and I was FaceTiming with my sister and I was telling her, wow, my stomach keeps tightening, like it's intense. It doesn't hurt, but it's just a lot. I started timing them and realized that they were between 5 to 10 minutes apart. So I texted my midwife, and as soon as she got my message, she called me and she said, okay, you need to go take a bath right now with lavender for at least an hour, and then I'll call you back and we'll see if they went down. So I did that, they didn't. So when she called me back, she said, okay, you need to come to the birth center. We're gonna do a CTG when you listen to the heart and also like you monitor basically what's happening. So at 9 p.m. we took a cab and we went to the birth center, and she hooked me up to the machine for at least half an hour. She explained what was maybe going on. Basically we were monitoring them to see how often they occurred, also monitoring the baby to make sure that they were not affecting him or her. We realized that they were about 7 minutes apart, very regular, but they didn't affect the baby at all. So she said, okay, go home, and if anything happens during the night, if your water breaks or whatever, call me, and also get to the hospital. I was able to sleep through the night, and the next morning I went to see my OB at 7 in the morning. She did another monitoring, and then she did an ultrasound and she checked that my cervix was closed and everything was good. We don't really know why it was happening. She just said, okay, you need to rest as much as possible. And also my midwife had given me a special powder to take, tea, and also an oil that were all supposed to help calm the contractions. I also was instructed to start drinking more water because the thing is that in the third trimester I started having to pee constantly again, so I stopped drinking enough, which can be a cause of Braxton Hicks. And it's also a little bit ironic because if you're dehydrated you may have Braxton Hicks, but then if you have to pee, the pressure from your bladder gives you Braxton Hicks. After that appointment I went home and I just lied on the couch for 3 to 4 days. Martin took such good care of me. He was working a lot at that time, but he said, if you need anything, you don't get up, because just getting up was starting contractions. And then on the following Tuesday, we were leaving for Bavaria with our friends. It was kind of a question, okay, should we go? Is it dangerous? But things got a bit better on the weekend, and my midwife came over to our apartment on the Monday, and she checked me to make sure that my cervix cervix was still closed, so she gave me the okay. She said, take it easy, but go enjoy yourselves. It's actually gonna do you good to get out of the apartment and go to Bavaria. So of course I took it very easy. I didn't go into the mountains or anything. On one day I had to stay at the apartment because I was having too many contractions and my back hurt after walking too much the previous day. I was very sad and I was crying because I felt like I wasn't able to have a normal pregnancy. Even though I had great pregnancy the rest of the time, I was just emotional at that moment. But we still had a great trip with our friends. So that meant that from that point on, I kind of always had to be more careful because I was more at risk of having a lot of contractions. We didn't know if they would start preterm labor or not, so we just didn't want to take a chance. That also meant no sex because it can induce labor. So that was kind of a bummer. But you have to do what's necessary to keep your little baby healthy, and it's insane that we've been able to keep it in the tummy for so long. I'm amazed and I'm very happy because it's quite a small baby, so it's good that it's having time to get a little bit more fat before it comes out. And that was another stressful event of the third trimester. The baby was measuring small. I went to normal ultrasound and my doctor said your baby was always average size and now it's quite low in the percentiles, so compared to other babies, which is maybe normal since I'm 5'3", Martin is maybe 5'10", my parents are not tall, Canadians in general are shorter than Germans, so it could be because of that. But she wanted to make sure that everything was okay, so she saw me again 2 weeks later and she said, I'm concerned because you're giving birth at a birth center and not at the hospital, so I'm sending you to a special ultrasound, which is the same one that I did at 22 weeks, where they can look with a lot of precision at the organs, blood circulation. So she just wanted to make sure that everything was okay and that the baby didn't have any growth disorder. So I went there at 34 weeks without Martin once again. He had to miss all the appointments, all the ultrasounds, except for everything with the midwife. I mean, we accept it, it's COVID, but I just think that it's so sad that he missed everything. But as long as he's there for the delivery, that's the most important thing for us. So I went to that special 3D ultrasound and she said, everything is fine, your baby's doing great, it's just a small baby. Because a lot of women are told, oh, your baby's measuring small, and they end up with a 9-pound baby. So, I mean, there can be a problem, but our baby is so active. It's been moving around the whole time I've been talking to you, and it's never been a problem. Some days it's calmer, but there's never been a day where I haven't felt it, and it moves around a lot. That was very reassuring, but having the confirmation from the 3D ultrasound was perfect. And a few weeks ago I did just another CTG in German, so just when they monitor the heart rate again to make sure that everything is okay, everything's great. Something else that took me by surprise in the third trimester was all the fear and doubt that came with it. So the first 2 trimesters I was just so zen and happy all the time. I didn't have one single worry. Somehow at the beginning of the third trimester I started having a lot of doubt. Should we have kept the baby? Am I gonna be a good mom? Do I really want to be a mom? It was dawning on me that it was something very, very big and that it was happening soon. But then I talked with other friends who are pregnant like in the same week as I am, and they said that they were kind of feeling the same and their babies were planned and they were just kind of freaking out a bit. So I think it might be something that happens to you in the third trimester where you're like, oh my god, I'm having a baby, my life is gonna change. That was a bit reassuring to see that I wasn't the only one, and also with meditation, with talking with Martin a lot, those doubts just went away, but it was good for me to process them. And the biggest fear was fear of giving birth. From the beginning I was like, we've been doing this forever, I mean our bodies are meant to do that, and that's what made me choose to give birth at a birth center and not in the hospital. But there was a short period where I started doubting myself and thinking, do I really want to give birth without any medication and without the possibility of having an epidural if I need one? And also because I was so scared and so stressed, I started researching everything about giving birth because it's really good to be informed. So the more you know, the less you fear. But there are very positive stories, but there are so many negative stories or complications, and I just kind of started freaking out. And also even the positive stories, they tell you how much it hurts. That's kind of scary. I was telling Marta yesterday that I was looking forward to have the baby, but it's kind of funny because it's like, oh, I'm very excited about getting all my wisdom teeth removed without any painkiller. And I know you get a baby after you give birth, so the pain is worth something, but still, it's kind of strange to be excited about something that you know is gonna hurt you so much. But surprisingly, now I'm very zen. I know that it's coming, and I know that when it happens, I'm gonna be emotional. It's gonna be very special. I'm okay with it now, and I don't fear it as much. So what I did is I stopped researching labor, and instead I just started listening to hypnobirthing daily, doing meditations. I also spent a lot of time in the bathtub with books. I read hypnobirthing, but also orgasmic birth. It's a very positive approach to pregnancy and labor, and to be honest, I did a lot of crying in the tub, and it was very positive, I think, because it allowed me to let go of all those emotions. Not always negative emotions, but there's so much happening when you're pregnant, and especially in the 3rd trimester. I think it was really good that I could just let go of all that pressure, and now I'm ready whenever it comes. Hopefully not until Monday, because my midwife is away for the weekend, so I'm trying not to go into labor on my due date tomorrow. I also forgot to mention earlier when I was talking about the Braxton Hicks. They never stopped completely, but I stopped having so many. In the past few weeks I've been having a lot, but they don't seem to be doing anything. I mean, I'm not going into labor. And for the past 2 months I've been having period pain. I think that they're contractions. They are getting my uterus ready for the big day. It's also confusing because some days I have quite a few, and then I think, oh, maybe today, and some days they're really painful, sometimes they're not that painful, so it's just very confusing. They're kind of all over the place. I didn't expect to feel those from week 32, I think, and now I'm week 40, so it's a bit confusing. Will I know that I'm in labor? Like, will they finally become consistent? So it's all very exciting and a bit confusing, to be honest. As for the baby, as I said, it's been doing great, very active. It's been head down since week 30. So before that, it was sometimes head down, sometimes head up. That was good, but that also meant a lot of pressure on my cervix, so a lot of tightening and weird sensations that I didn't know existed, and also a lot of pressure on my bladder. So even more trips to the bathroom. Getting out of the house was very difficult because I needed a bathroom every 5 minutes. My muscles and my nerves have gotten used to it, so it's more comfortable. I'm not in pain anymore. Sometimes it's a bit, especially if the baby moves while I walk, I have to stop in my tracks, wait for a few seconds, and then continue, but it's really not as bad. It also dropped at week 36, meaning that the head is engaged and putting pressure, as I said, on my cervix. Hopefully it's preparing my pelvis and all the muscles and the nerves in order to have a smoother delivery. The baby also started having the hiccups in the 3rd trimester, which was adorable. It happened a lot for almost all the 3rd trimester. Lately I haven't been feeling it as much, maybe twice a week, but for a while it was several times a day. It's really cute because you can see the belly jump with the hiccup. Apparently it's good for them. They're practicing their diaphragm and their muscles. I also had an ultrasound today, and my OB said that the baby was already showing breathing movements. It's ready to come out basically. And often when I had ultrasound, we also saw him or her drink some of the amniotic fluid, so I thought it was really cute. And 2 symptoms that I don't think I mentioned was that I started being very tired again in the 3rd trimester, which seems to be very common. I started having to take naps every day for the first weeks. Now I don't take naps anymore, but I was very tired, and I also had less appetite, which is not surprising since there's less room in your stomach, so it's harder to eat, but you need to eat more calories because you're making a human being. So that was a bit of a struggle, and also my cravings disappeared compared to the 2nd trimester where I was obsessed with food. Now I'm just like, meh, I could eat a cookie, but I don't need one. Oh, croissants. I was obsessed with croissants for a few weeks. But I think that was my only craving for the third trimester. Actually, I've been craving cookies since yesterday, so I might go make pumpkin chocolate chip cookies after I finish filming. But other than that, as I said, food hasn't been on my mind too much in this trimester. So I think that covers it. Probably forgot to a lot of things like in every video, but I mean the most important things are here. So thank you so much for watching. If you've been following my pregnancy, I really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments below maybe what you think. Do you think we're having a boy? We're having a girl? We're excited to find out, and the next time I see you will be with a little baby. So don't forget to subscribe if you're interested in that kind of content. Oh, before I finish, I will show you the bump. That's my 40-week bump. It's not huge, but it's also not like super small, so I'm gonna miss it for sure. I'm gonna be happy to have my little baby, but I think I'm gonna miss the bump. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!